The morning was quiet. Too quiet for Los Angeles. February 14th. Valentine's Day. Inside a white, ivy-covered estate tucked into the hills of Montecito, a handwritten note rested on a wooden table near a window. It read, "I choose you. Today. And every day after." At 9:12 a.m., a black vintage car rolled through iron gates. No paparazzi. No press announcement. No media leaks. Just close family. Close friends. And Maya Hawke. But what no one knew at that moment was how long this day had been coming, and how close it almost didn't happen at all. To the world, Maya Hawke is Robin, the witty, awkward, fearless soul from Stranger Things. To some, she's the daughter of Hollywood royalty, Uma Thurman and Ethan Hawke. But this story isn't about fame. It isn't about celebrity spectacle. It's about something deeply human, about love found quietly, protected fiercely, and chosen deliberately. Because behind every headline, there's a person deciding whether to trust their heart. And on February 14th, Maya made a choice that stunned even those closest to her. Maya Ray Thurman Hawke was born into a world where cameras were normal, but she never wanted the spotlight handed to her. In interviews, she often spoke about discomfort with fame, about wanting authenticity, about wanting something real. Her breakout role in Stranger Things catapulted her into global recognition in 2019. Suddenly, red carpets, magazine covers, speculation about her dating life. Every public outing became dissected. Every friendship became a rumor. But here's what most people didn't know. In late 2022, during a small independent film shoot in upstate New York, she met someone. Not another A-list actor. Not a producer. Not a musician chasing fame. His name was Daniel Mercer. A set designer. 34. Divorced once. Quiet. Observant. The kind of man who listened more than he spoke. And at first, she barely noticed him. But he noticed her. Not the actress. Not the celebrity. Her. Their first real conversation didn't happen at a glamorous party. It happened at 2 a.m. on a freezing soundstage. When the heating system broke, everyone else complained. Maya stayed. Daniel stayed too. They sat on overturned equipment crates, drank bad coffee, talked about childhood fears, about feeling misunderstood, about pressure. He didn't treat her like a star. He treated her like a person. And that unsettled her. Because vulnerability is dangerous when you've grown up in Hollywood. By mid-2023, they were quietly dating. No Instagram photos. No public statements. But whispers began. Who's the guy? Why isn't she dating someone famous? Then came the tension. Her schedule intensified. Final seasons. Music tours. Press obligations. Distance grew. And here's the question that haunted her. Was she building a career? Or building a life? What would you choose? Fame that expands? Or love that grounds you? But what happened next changed everything. In December 2024, Daniel proposed. Not in Paris. Not on a yacht. But in her childhood home. In the garden her mother planted. He didn't kneel immediately. He told her why. He told her he had seen how loneliness followed fame. He told her he wasn't asking her to choose him over her career. He was asking to walk beside her in it. Then he knelt. And she didn't answer right away. Because commitment terrified her. Her parents' very public separation had left a mark. She feared repeating patterns. She feared headlines. She feared losing herself. For 3 days, she said nothing. And on the 4th morning, she whispered yes. But they kept it secret. Until Valentine's Day. Because that date wasn't about marketing. It was about reclaiming romance. February 14th arrived softly. No extravagant floral installations. No celebrity spectacle. Her dress? Simple ivory silk. Minimal makeup. Hair loose. Her father walked her halfway. Then stepped back. Because she wanted to walk the rest alone. A symbolic choice. As she reached Daniel, she exhaled. And something in her shifted. Her vows weren't dramatic. They were honest. I am scared sometimes, but I want to be brave with you. There were tears. Not performative ones. Real ones. And when they kissed, there were no cameras capturing it for a press release. Only witnesses. And wind. But here's the part no one expected. After the ceremony, she turned off her phone. For 48 hours. No announcement. No post. Nothing. The world didn't know. And that silence was intentional. 2 days later, a single photo appeared. Posted at 11:11 a.m. Caption: Chosen love. No tags. No brand sponsorship. Just a black and white image of their hands. Wedding bands visible. The internet exploded. Fans shocked. Media scrambling. Cast members from Stranger Things commenting with heart emojis. Speculation everywhere. But Maya didn't do interviews. She didn't monetize it. She simply returned to work. As a married woman. Quietly. Confidently. And that restraint? That was the real statement. The marriage shifted her. Friends noticed. She became calmer. Less reactive to headlines. More protective of her boundaries. Projects became selective. Interviews became deeper. She spoke about partnership as grounding. About building something lasting. And in a culture obsessed with spectacle, she chose intimacy. This story isn't just about a celebrity wedding. It's about reclaiming privacy. It's about redefining romance in a digital world. It's about understanding that love doesn't need to trend to be real. Maya didn't marry on Valentine's Day for attention. She did it to anchor a memory, to make a symbolic promise, and maybe to remind herself that life isn't a performance, even when the world is watching. Months later, at a small dinner party, someone asked her, "Why Valentine's Day?" She smiled and said, "Because love isn't cynical. People are." Silence followed. Outside, Los Angeles buzzed as usual. But inside that room, there was something steady, something chosen. And if there's one thing this story teaches us, it's that even in a world of flashing cameras and endless headlines, the most powerful moments are often the quiet ones. And sometimes, the bravest thing a star can do is simply say yes. Absolutely. We're going deeper now. The wedding was only the beginning. Because what the public saw was a single black and white photo. What they didn't see was what it cost her to get there. Continuation. The story behind the silence. The internet was loud. Too loud. Within minutes of Maya posting the photo, hashtags began trending. Fan accounts zoomed in on the ring. Entertainment blogs rushed to identify the groom. Comment sections filled with shock, joy, heartbreak, and confusion. Some fans celebrated. Some felt betrayed. Some asked the same question over and over. When did this even happen? View. The interviewer expected wedding details. A private conversation with her mother. 2 weeks after the wedding, Maya flew to visit her mother, Uma Thurman. They met in a quiet house overlooking the ocean. No stylists. No assistants. Just mother and daughter. There's something different about talking to a parent after you've made a life-altering decision. You're not asking for approval anymore. You're announcing who you've become. They sat at the kitchen table for nearly 3 hours. At one point, Uma asked gently, "Are you sure you're not trying to escape something?" The question landed heavier than expected, because Maya had asked herself that same thing. Was she running from the chaos of fame? From the pressure of being the daughter of two icons? From the endless comparisons? Or was she truly choosing love? Silence filled the room. Then Maya answered honestly, "I'm not escaping. I'm anchoring." And for the first time, her mother didn't look concerned. She looked relieved. But here's what most people don't realize. Being the child of celebrities doesn't just give you privilege. It gives you perspective. She had watched love unravel publicly. She had seen tabloids twist intimacy into spectacle. And she promised herself years ago, if she ever married, it would be protected. No sponsorship deals. No televised exclusives. No staged magazine covers. And that decision, It quietly challenged Hollywood's unspoken rules. When production resumed for the final stretch of Stranger Things, the cast hadn't seen her yet. She walked onto set early. No announcement. No dramatic reveal. Just a simple band on her finger. Joe Keery noticed first. He froze mid-sentence. "Wait. Are you?" She nodded. Screams followed. Hugs. Questions. Shock. But beneath the excitement was something else. Recognition. They had all grown up together on that show. Through fame. Through scrutiny. Through adolescence under a microscope. Her marriage felt like a milestone for all of them. Because it meant they were no longer just characters in a cultural phenomenon. They were adults. Choosing real lives. But there was also a quiet fear in the room. The end of the show was near. And endings bring uncertainty. Was marriage the beginning of her next chapter? Or a signal she might step away entirely? The producers didn't ask. But they wondered. And fans began speculating again. Would Robin's story change because Maya's had? No one saw what was coming next. The offer that tested everything. 3 months after the wedding, Maya received a script. A massive franchise reboot. Multi-million-dollar contract. Global press tour. 2-year filming commitment. The kind of opportunity actors wait decades for. But the shooting schedule would keep her overseas for nearly 18 months. Daniel had just accepted a long-term architectural restoration project in New York. For the first time since they married, their paths diverged. The script sat on their kitchen counter for days. Unread. Untouched. Because the real question wasn't about money. It wasn't about fame. It was about alignment. Late one night, she finally opened it. It was good. Really good. Complex female lead. Dark psychological depth. Award potential. Her agents were ecstatic. This could redefine your career. But redefine at what cost? She stared at the final page, closed the script, and walked into the bedroom. Daniel was asleep. She watched him for a long time. Marriage isn't about grand gestures. It's about thousands of small, quiet decisions. And this was one of them. What would you do? Choose expansion? Or choose presence? The next morning, she declined the role. Her team was stunned. Some thought it was reckless. Some thought it was romantic. But for Maya it was simple. I don't want success that requires disconnection. And that single decision altered her life forever. Shifting public perception. When news leaked that she passed on the franchise, headlines spun wildly. Is Maya Hawke stepping back from Hollywood? Did marriage change her priorities? Is she giving up ambition? The narrative quickly became reductionist. As if love and ambition can't coexist. As if choosing balance means choosing smallness. But here's what the public didn't see. She wasn't shrinking her career. She was reshaping it. Instead of blockbuster franchises, she began developing her own production company. Smaller projects. Character-driven stories. Films centered on identity, queerness, vulnerability. Stories that felt personal. Stories that mattered. And in private interviews she began speaking differently. Less about fame. More about meaning. A quiet night that revealed everything. 6 months into marriage, on a random Tuesday evening, the power went out in their apartment. No candles prepared. No romantic setup. Just darkness. They sat on the floor with flashlights. And Daniel asked her something unexpected. Are you happy? Not successful. Not satisfied. Happy. She didn't answer immediately. Because happiness isn't constant. It's layered. I'm peaceful, she said. And that word mattered more. Peace was something she had rarely felt during rapid fame. Peace was something marriage gave her. Not because it solved everything, but because it gave her a safe place to land. The first real argument. But don't mistake peace for perfection. 3 months later, tension finally surfaced. A miscommunication about travel. A missed anniversary dinner due to a press obligation. A sarcastic comment that went too far. Voices raised. Doors closed harder than intended. And in that moment the fairy tale narrative cracked. Because real love isn't cinematic. It's messy. And both of them carried past wounds. Daniel feared abandonment from his previous divorce. Maya feared emotional instability from childhood exposure to public scrutiny. Their argument wasn't about dinner. It was about fear. But what happened next defined them. Instead of retreating into silence, they talked. For hours. Raw. Honest. The anniversary interview. On their first anniversary, she gave a rare long-form guest lists. Dress designers. Instead, Maya said something that surprised everyone. Marriage didn't change me. It revealed me. She spoke about choosing deliberately. About refusing spectacle. About protecting intimacy in an era addicted to exposure. Clips from the interview went viral. Not because of drama, but because of depth. And suddenly the public narrative shifted. She wasn't settling down. She was leveling up emotionally. The bigger picture. Stranger Things eventually aired its final season. The cast cried. Fans mourned. An era ended. But Maya stood differently at that premiere. Not just as an actress. Not just as someone's daughter. But as a woman who had chosen her life intentionally. And that confidence radiated. As cameras flashed, she didn't perform for them. She existed. Grounded. Present. Certain. Unfiltered. No social media filter. No brand image. Just two humans navigating vulnerability. And that night strengthened them more than the wedding did. A moment no one filmed. Late that night after the premiere afterparty, she and Daniel walked home instead of taking a car. Los Angeles lights stretched endlessly. She slipped off her heels halfway down the block. They laughed. No press. No entourage. Just footsteps. At one point she stopped, looked up at the sky, and whispered, "This is enough. Not the fame. Not the applause. Not the headlines. This. The quiet. The partnership. The chosen life." And sometimes, that's the most radical thing a public figure can do. Choose a private joy. But this story isn't finished. Because the next chapter would test their strength in ways no one expected. And it began with a phone call. A call that came at 3:17 a.m. and changed everything again. Would you like me to continue into the next arc? The crisis that challenged their marriage and reshaped her future permanently? The phone rang at 3:17 a.m. Not the gentle vibration of a text. Not a calendar reminder. A sharp, cutting sound that slices through sleep. Maya reached for it first. Her heart was already racing before she even saw the name. Her father. Ethan Hawke rarely called at that hour. Something was wrong. She answered without speaking. There's a specific silence that lives on the other end of bad news. And in that silence you already know your life is about to divide into before and after. The call. Her father's voice wasn't dramatic. It wasn't panicked. It was steady in the way people become when they're trying to hold everyone else together. Her grandmother had collapsed. A sudden cardiac event. She was alive. But critical. Maya sat upright instantly. Daniel was awake now too, watching her face change. And in that moment, something shifted inside her. Because marriage isn't tested in romance. It's tested in emergency. They were on the first flight out of Los Angeles by sunrise. No publicist announcement. No social media note. Just two carry-on bags and a kind of quiet fear that sits in your chest like weight. But what happened next changed their relationship forever. The hospital room. Hospitals strip away celebrity. There are no VIP hallways in grief. No stylists. No curated lighting. Just fluorescent reality. Her grandmother lay still, machines breathing rhythmically beside her. Maya hadn't seen her fragile like that before. She had always been strong, opinionated, sharp-witted, the kind of woman who reminded Maya that independence runs in their blood. And now she looked small. Maya sat beside her for hours. Daniel sat beside Maya. No speeches. No platitudes. Just presence. And that presence mattered more than anything. Because in moments like this, you see who someone really is. Daniel didn't check his phone. He didn't pace. He didn't make it about himself. He held her hand when she couldn't stop shaking. And that was when she realized. This wasn't just a man she married. This was the man she would endure life with. But life rarely unfolds without complication. And complication arrived quickly. The media leak. By the second day at the hospital, someone tipped off a blog. A photo surfaced. Blurry. Taken through glass. Maya Hawke seen visiting ICU. Family emergency? The headline spread. Speculation followed. Was she pregnant? Was it marriage trouble? Was it career burnout? The noise returned, even in crisis. And Maya felt that old anxiety rising. The feeling of being watched when you're vulnerable. She stepped outside for air. Daniel followed. She broke down. Not just about her grandmother. About the exhaustion of living publicly. What if it's always like this? She whispered. What if we never get to grieve privately? Daniel didn't rush to reassure her. He just said something simple. Then we protect what we can. And that sentence became a turning point. Because protection requires boundaries. And boundaries require courage. The decision. On the third night, her grandmother regained consciousness briefly. Just long enough to squeeze Maya's hand. Just long enough to whisper something barely audible. Choose love.